Hey guys, how's it going? So according to my calculations, day 4 of lockdown. Hope you guys are doing well. According to your videos, it's looking really awesome, guys. Good job. Keep it up, keep tagging us, keep sending through what you're doing. And if you're doing additional stuff, that's awesome, guys. Send that through as well. Maybe it'll help someone else on the group. That being said, we're going to talk about the extra training. I think it's great. Just a few things that we might want to note while we are training in this time. Cool, but this is just a specific video going a little bit sidetrack and looking at more specific muscles. Reason is we're looking at stabilizers. So it's a bit of a stabilizer slash mobilizer side course, if you want to call it that. So I've made a little bit of a list here. We're going to talk about joint stability first. So we've got a bit of a spider diagram, and what I've linked joint stability to would be your stabilizers and mobilizers, and then concentric and eccentric movement. So if we talk about stabilizers and mobilizers, then we're talking about the different types of muscles. So mobilizers would be the muscles that move you, while stabilizers are more hidden muscles that keep you safe during that movement, so preventing injury. Concentric and eccentric movement. Alright, we've spoken about this in class a little bit. I'm not sure if you guys understand it that wholly, but essentially concentric movement is activating your muscle while it's shortening, and eccentric movement is activating your muscle while it's lengthening. So if we had to look at the bicep curl, concentric would be bringing it up, eccentric would be taking it down. Alright. But then we talk about isometric. So this is where your muscle is statically active. So if I had to just hold the bar at 90 degrees, that would be an isometric contraction. But where do isometrics come in for stabilizing? So if we look at the bottom of a squat, as you hit the bottom, there's a short period where you need to be isometric while your muscles change from concentric to eccentric. And it's often in this transition that we see the knee collapse in. So our goal with this video series is to try and strengthen the muscles that can prevent that. So for example that I just gave you, if we were to strengthen the glute med, we would be able to keep those knees out while your muscles are transitioning. It also comes down to muscle control and working through that type of stuff. But for the sake of this series, we're just going to look at joint stability. So the 3 places we're going to be looking: the shoulder, the core, and the hips. Okay, so we're going to look at this, and the reason for this is that it's been shown that stability in certain areas will increase your power output without even changing anything with your strength program or anything. So if you have a stable joint, distally on your arm is going to be stronger as well. If you have a stable core, your power output in a squat or in a bench press will be stronger. Alright, so I hope you guys enjoy this. Please pay attention to the videos. If you're not interested, that's fine. But if you are, watch them all because they're going to be linked. Alright, keep well, keep training, and make sure that you're tagging us and keeping us up to date with what you're doing. Thanks a lot, guys. Hey guys, welcome to part 1 of our stabilization series. Alright, today we're going to be looking at the shoulder. So firstly, I just want to talk a little bit about anatomy and some of the things that we need to know on why the stabilization exercises are important. So every day our lives require us to be in this rounded position, or we put ourselves in this rounded position. Whether we're typing on a desk, we're driving, or we're on our phones, it's always head forward, shoulders rounded. And this means that there's muscles taking loads that they shouldn't be taking. Our stabilizers are designed to work at about 20% the whole day, whereas mobilizers are designed to work at about 80 to 100% for short periods. Alright, so that's the reason why, for example, if our traps are taking the load of our head, then we get the knots in the neck, and then you get your headaches and stuff. You got another muscle called levator scap, which should be taking that, or your deep neck flexors, which should be taking the weight of your head. It's not the role of your traps. Okay, and that's where your injuries happen. Where improper movement happens, and then again injuries. So if we're looking at the movement of the scapula, we're looking at 4 basic movements. It's elevation, depression, protraction, and retraction. Alright, I'm going to start off by looking at protraction. So protraction is the ability for your shoulder blade to move forward on your rib cage, and we want to be able to do this without using our pecs or our lats, which is this nice juicy muscle at the back. Alright, and often our pecs want to take over because it is a nice big movement, and the way we can avoid this is by moving slower, or as you see, I use my hand. I can feel if it's activating. Alright, so I put my hand here the whole time, I push forward, and if it activates, I'm going to turn it off with my hand, or consciously think about relaxing your lat. Alright, so the way we're going to strengthen this, I've got a nice TheraBand, but we'll talk about other ways now. And my favorite is to just standing up. I want this band a little bit higher, but I didn't have burglar bars behind me, so I'm just using the leg of the table, and I'm going to push forward. Alright, so an important concept to think about is that to activate our stabilizers, we want to move slowly. And then we also spoke about isometrics. So what that means is hand on my pec, fingers on my lat. I'm going to push forward. 1, 2, 3. And this is my isometric part of my contraction, is while I'm holding, and then move it back. And I want to push forward. And the whole time I'm avoiding shrugging up. So sometimes I'll come back to a shrug position. I want to keep it relaxed and move through that. And I'm feeling a nice burn already on the rib cage. Okay, you might feel it in your armpit area. That's nothing to worry about. Okay, so we want to move slowly, push through the arm, and you start to feel a burn. Same way that I'm using my hand to turn off the other muscles, you can feel for activation. It's a muscle that runs along your ribs. If you want to search it, serratus anterior. Okay, if we don't have a band, we can use gravity to assist us. Okay, so you can either use a dumbbell, nice light 2 kilo, or I've got a can of tomato juice. And laying on my back, however you want to stabilize the bottom, I'm gonna push through. Okay, again, I'm using my hand to turn off my pec, okay, and my lat, and I'm pushing through. Okay, consciously thinking about relaxing the pec, okay, and squeezing. 1, 2, 3. Alright, so that's your idea for protraction. Once you're able to do it consistently for about 10 reps of 10 reps, holding it for 3 to 7 seconds, and 3 sets of that, you can progress it to a heavier load. A way to increase your load, you can use body weight now. So starting off in a half push-up, okay, you go from neutral, push through, and you should feel the same thing, and relax, and push through. Ultimately, we can end off in a push-up position, and drop, push. Alright, the reason I want us to start on the more isolated movements would be in the push-up position, you can't feel if you're activating your pec or not. Alright, so if we're doing it in the push-up from the start, and we're using our pec, we're completely wasting the exercise. Okay, so that's movement number 1. You're going to be catching up on movement number 2 soon. Okay, so focusing still on the shoulder, we've spoken about protraction, a quick mention of elevation and depression. These are movements that we can do on the pull-up bar. So hanging on a pull-up bar, we want to pull down, that would be depressing your shoulder blade. And that's obviously also pulling down so that your shoulder blade is going into your pocket and not just arching the back. Okay, we'll look at that a little bit at the end with our turtles, our W's, things like that. But it's just trying to wake up the correct muscles for movement. As I said, traps are not designed to move our shoulder up too much. We want our levator scap, which is literally named after elevating the scap. First though, we're going to be looking at rotation. So once again, I'm going to go to my trusty little TheraBand. Okay, and I would prefer it to be up at the level of my elbow. Rotation is going to be with the shoulder inside the glenohumeral joint. So now we're looking a little bit less at the scapula or the shoulder blade and a little bit more at the other muscles. So for internal rotation, I'm going to stand such that the band is away from me. I'm going to slowly pull it in. Alright, again we're looking for the isometric. I want to be in control here. There's tension on the band. I'm going to pull it across my body, feeling the burn, hold it for a bit, and then relax. Okay, and the whole time there's tension on the body. So a lot of people want to put a lot of tension on the band, and then we get this. Okay, so that means there's no control in the transition between concentric and eccentric of internal rotation. Alright, we want to be able to control it, hold it, and then let it out. Okay, so if you are struggling, if you're pulling in and then it jumps a little bit and then you control it, relax the band a little bit. Start off with a light load and then increase it from there. Okay, your external rotation, same concept. Alright, I'm going to start with it in neutral. There's tension on the band. I'm going to turn it out and then let it come in. Again, if you pull out and it shoots back, take a little bit of slack off it and really think about it. So pull out, relax. Pull out, relax. Okay, and you can see the whole time my shoulders also set in a good position. I don't want to be shrugged up here, alright, or turning with my body. Okay, so I'm neutral, pull out, and let it in. Okay, if we're not happy, or if we're not lucky enough to have a TheraBand at home, don't stress, you can also do it on a bed. So you can use a dumbbell, again, 2 kilos, you don't need a lot more than that. But I'm going to be using a can of tomatoes for the sake of people that don't have equipment. Right, so laying on the bed, you put a pillow under your shoulder so it's supported, otherwise we get this gap. And we don't want a gap between the bed and the shoulder. Alright, so I put a pillow under there, arm is up at 90 degrees, and I'm going to pull up so that it's externally rotated, I'm going to drop in so that it's internally rotated. Alright, and those are the two movements that we're going to be looking at. Okay. You can also do external rotation on your side if you would prefer. So laying sideways, you just lift the weight up and relax. Again, I'm going to mention the reps. We're looking for about 10 to 12 reps with a 3-second to 7-second duration. Okay. If you can do 3 sets of 10 reps with a 7-second duration, you're probably ready to go up. Again, we're looking for that control as we change directions, and that's going to be our indicator of whether we're progressing or not. Okay, so as we go out, if it jumps back in or if you're shaking, then you've got an instability that we need to work on. Alright, with that, something that I really like is the waiter's carry. Okay, and this is just concentrating the internal and external rotation in an isometric way. Alright, so we've done it at gym, holding up a kettlebell or a dumbbell in this position, and we walk. Okay, I'm going to assume that we don't have a dumbbell or kettlebell light enough, and we can use 2 food cans. Alright, and what we're going to do is lift the arm up to 90 degrees, so my shoulder's at 90, I'm stabilizing it through my arm, and with that light load, what I'm going to do is walk, keeping nice and stable. Okay, you can turn around, switch arms. Okay, this arm's not warm, so you might see some funny things. Okay, and we're walking nice and slowly. If you want to try and increase the weight, 2 bricks would work great together, okay? Or you can use the kettlebell. Guys, don't be crazy, don't grab a heavy kettlebell. You shouldn't need anything more than like an 8 or a 10. And if you are trying to do it with a kettlebell or a dumbbell, and you're sitting with it like this, okay, we're cheating. We're using the rib cage to stabilize us. So we want to be up here, stable through the arm. Alright. And that brings us to our last movement, which is going to be the turtles. Okay, we do them a lot. I see a lot of people doing them wrong, so I'm just going to focus on them now and show us a little bit of an easier progression that we can maybe start with if you are doing them wrong. If you don't know it, record yourself, send it to me, let me know, ask me what I think, and we can talk about it. Okay. First thing that I want to think about is what we call a W. So from here, we're going to rotate out, retract a little bit, and then I'm going to straighten my arms and pull them back in. Okay. The whole time I'm turning my arms out, so my thumbs and my palms are going to face up. Alright, I'm going to relax the rest of my back. So one of the flaws that we get in the gym is this. People want to be doing their turtles up with their chest off the ground. Okay, it's not a thoracic extension exercise, it's a shoulder exercise. So, tuck your chin, relax your back, and so we start with a W. You're going to pull it up, straighten it, without elevating, okay, straighten, and then pull it back down. Okay, we get a little bit of depression at the bottom there. Alright, once we can do the W's with comfort, okay, then we can move on to turtles. So that's going to be your arms up above your head. You're going to lift up, rotate, palms face down when you're at 90 degrees, and then we rotate through with depression at the back. Okay, important here is we don't want our shoulders to be facing the ground. We want our headlights facing forward. So there, arms come up, pulling my shoulders into my back pockets, and settle at the top. Alright, the important cue there is through the whole movement, I want to be pulling my shoulder blades into my back pockets, and that's going to ensure that my scapula is in a good position. Alright, if we roll forward, that's where we risk ourselves for impingement. And an easy test, if you guys don't believe me, when you're in standing, rotate your shoulder back, try and reach overhead. Okay, here I can get a nice almost 180 degrees. Roll your shoulder forward or slump, okay, and then try and reach overhead. I'm barely getting to, I would say, 130. Okay, there's 90, yeah, I'd say about 145. Okay, so we've lost about 40 degrees of motion. Roll it back, reach overhead, okay, a lot less risk of impingement. So that concludes our shoulder series. I will be sending out another one with slightly more complicated exercises. Let me know what you guys think. Please give me feedback. We can maybe adjust it, change it to make it more suitable for people. I know it's been a bit of a drag, but please pay attention and keep at it. Alright, let me know what you guys think. More than that, but I'm going to be using a can of tomatoes for the sake of people that don't have equipment. Alright, so laying on the bed, you put a pillow under your shoulder so it's supported. Otherwise we get this gap, and we don't want a gap between the bed and the shoulder. Alright, so I put a pillow under there, arm is up at 90 degrees, and I'm going to pull up so that it's externally rotated. I'm going to drop in so that it's internally rotated. Alright, and those are the two movements that we're going to be looking at. Okay. You can also do external rotation on your side if you would prefer. So laying sideways, you just lift the weight up and relax. Again, I'm going to mention the reps. We're looking for about 10 to 12 reps with a 3-second to 7-second duration. Okay, if you can do 3 sets of 10 reps with a 7-second duration, you're probably ready to go up. Again, we're looking for that control as we change directions, and that's going to be our indicator of whether we're progressing or not. Okay, so as we go out, if it jumps back in or if you're shaking, then you've got an instability that we need to work on. Alright, with that, something that I really like is the waiter's carry. Okay, and this is just concentrating the internal and external rotation in an isometric way. Alright, so we've done it at gym, holding up a kettlebell or a dumbbell in this position, and we walk. Okay, I'm going to assume that we don't have a dumbbell or kettlebell light enough, and we can use 2 food cans. Alright, and what we're going to do is lift the arm up to 90 degrees, so my shoulder's at 90, I'm stabilizing it through my arm, and with that light load, all I'm going to do is walk, keeping nice and stable. Okay, we can turn around, switch arms. Okay, this arm's not warm, so you might see some funny things. Okay, and we're walking nice and slowly. If you want to try and increase the weight, 2 bricks would work great together. Okay, or you can use the kettlebell. Guys, don't be crazy, don't grab a heavy kettlebell. You shouldn't need anything more than like an 8 or a 10. And if you are trying to do it with a kettlebell or a dumbbell, and you're sitting with it like this, okay, we're cheating. We're using the rib cage to stabilize us. So we want to be up here, stable through the arm. Alright. And that brings us to our last movement, which is going to be the turtles. Okay, we do them a lot. I see a lot of people doing them wrong. So I'm just going to focus on them now and show us a little bit of progression that we can maybe start with if you are doing them wrong. If you don't know, record yourself, send it to me, let me know, ask me what I think, and we can talk about it. Okay. First thing that I want to think about is what we call a W. So from here, we're going to rotate out, retract a little bit, and then I'm going to straighten my arms and pull them back in. Okay, the whole time I'm turning my arms out, so my thumbs and my palms are going to face up. Alright, I'm going to relax the rest of my back. So one of the flaws that we get in the gym is this. People want to be doing their turtles up with their chest off the ground. Okay, it's not a thoracic extension exercise, it's a shoulder exercise. So, tuck your chin, relax your back, and so we start with a W. You're going to pull it up, straighten it without elevating, okay, straighten, and then pull it back down. Okay, we get a little bit of depression at the bottom there. Alright, once we can do the W's with comfort, okay, then we can move on to turtles. So that's going to be your arms up above your head. You're going to lift up, rotate, palms face down when you're at 90 degrees, and then we rotate through with depression at the back. Okay, important here is we don't want our shoulders to be facing the ground. We want our headlights facing forward. So there, arms come up, pulling my shoulders into my back pockets, and settle at the top. Alright, the important cue there is through the whole movement, I want to be pulling my shoulder blades into my back pockets, and that's going to ensure that my scapula is in a good position. Alright, if we roll forward, that's where we risk ourselves for impingement. And an easy test, if you guys don't believe me, when you're in standing, rotate your shoulder back, try and reach overhead. Okay, here I can get a nice almost 180 degrees. Roll your shoulder forward or slump, okay, and then try and reach overhead. I'm barely getting to, I would say, 130. Okay, there's 90, yeah, I'd say about 145. Okay, so we've lost about 40 degrees of motion. Roll it back, reach overhead, okay, a lot less risk of impingement. So that concludes our shoulder series. I will be sending out another one with slightly more complicated exercises. Let me know what you guys think. Please give me feedback. We can maybe adjust it, change it to make it more suitable for people. I know it's been a bit of a drag, but please pay attention and keep at it. Alright, let me know what you guys think. Guys, here we are for part 2 of our stabilization series, and today we're working on core. Alright, and I've been reading an interesting book by Kelly Starrett which speaks about core as our stabilizing factor. if you stabilize from the core and then progress out, we're going to have better output, better power generation, all of that without putting in a whole lot of work. Okay, so one of the main ways of improving our core strength would be to design a pattern that we can do in any situation, in any position. So what does that mean? We've got to decide a position that our body can be in for 80% of the day. And a way to do that is we're going to set up our posture. All right, so you might not see, but I've just put my feet together, and we're going to set our feet up under our hips. Okay, so that means turn them out about 30 degrees and then make them parallel. So that's going to set your feet up under your hips, and that's the easiest way to set someone into a good posture. All right, with your feet under your hips and parallel, your pelvic floor will already activate a little bit. All right, but our 4-step plan to activate our core is going to start with our bum. All right, so starting with your knees and your hips under your feet and your knees under your hips, you're going to squeeze your bum, turning the ground out. So you're trying to turn your toes away from each other. Squeeze your bum as hard as you can. Okay, so from the side, I'm going to squeeze my bum and you'll feel the pelvis tilt. So we call this our neutral position. Squeeze it and your pelvis tilts. Step 2 is going to be pulling the rib cage down. Okay, so my rib cage is now down and we get a nice parallel here between my pubic bone and my sternum. Okay, step number 3 is I'm going to exhale everything and suck my belly button to my spine. So that's going to ensure that I've got a nice tight belt, which will allow me to disengage my glutes, which should be burning around now. Okay, so my rib cage is down. Suck my belly button in, and that's going to be my 3rd step. Step number 4 is I'm going to rotate my shoulders and squeeze. Alright, so rotating the shoulders is going to pull the shoulder blades into a good position, and from there, this is your healthy position. Okay, so chin tucked, gazing forward, we've got our 4-step plan. Alright, so going over it again quickly. Feet under our hips, we're going to squeeze our bum, alright? Pull your rib cage down, suck your belly button in, so that's like squeezing all the air out. Okay, belly button's active. Now rotate my arms out, and that should tuck my chin. Alright, and to be able to train this position into your body is already going to train the right muscles to be awake more consistently. So everything we're going to do, we're going to be thinking about that position, alright? Pelvis level. If I had to put a straight line through my pelvis and my sternum, I get a parallel, okay? If I'm in the wrong position, you can see there my hands move apart, or if I'm rounded, my hands move together. Alright, and this was a little technique that was given to me by, that I read in Kelly Starrett's book. If you guys want to check him out, he's a really cool physical therapist from America.
Go.
Okay, taking that principle into movement rather, we're going to start looking at keeping a stable core through movements, right? And surprisingly enough, the core, because it's stabilizing your spine, is going to be the one thing that shouldn't be moving while we're moving, all right? And if we had to put that into context, right, when we're deadlifting, our back should be straight the whole time, okay? When we're squatting, our back is straight the whole time. We don't want that moving while our knees and our hips are going, all right? So we're going to be looking at stabilizing the spine and keeping it strong and sturdy while other limbs are moving. So to do that, first we're going to isolate the spine and move just our limbs. So I learned this one a while back, sort of from another therapist, but it's called a flat back lat exercise. And what we're going to do is I've got a towel here to keep me conscious of squeezing into the ground, but another equally effective method would be to get someone to put their arm under your back and actually tell you if you've stopped pushing. So what I mean by that is when I'm in my supine position, laying on my back, I want to squeeze into the towel, and I can't tell if I'm letting go, but if someone else's hand is under there, they'll tell me that I'm not pushing into the ground anymore. Alright, so that means that we've lost the stability or the security in our lower back. So how this exercise works is from this, I'm going to lower one hand slowly, and then I'm going to lower the other hand. Keeping pushing into the ground, and then straighten one leg, keep pushing, keep pushing, keep pushing, and then I straighten the other leg. And the whole time I want to be securing and pushing into the ground. And then from there we're going to do it in reverse. So I'm going to pull the leg up, pull the other leg, move one arm, and move the other arm. And you can do it in whatever order you feel comfortable or uncomfortable doing. Okay, and the principles behind this is that we're moving slowly and we're constantly squeezing our back into this pillow or the hand. And the way that
it strengthens us is it firstly it points out a lack of range in our lats, because if our lats aren't long enough, it's automatically going to pull our lumbar spine into a curve. But it also it forces that TA, so squeezing your stomach into the pillow to activate, to keep you pushing down. Alright, so we want to move through this slowly and try and get through all 4 movements for like 5 reps, and you should be feeling a bit of a burn through that. Another one that we can do is, as we've seen, a reverse dying bug. Alright, so it's going to be on our back, squeezing into the pillow, arms up. I'm going to straighten one leg and drop one arm, and then I'm going to pull back. Alright, and I'm always squeezing, pulling my belly button to my spine and keeping my other joints neutral while I'm moving the 2. Alright, so give those 2 a try. It's isolating the spine while we're busy moving limbs. Next we're going to be looking at movement while trying to keep the spine neutral. Alright, so try those 2, let me know how they go, and stay tuned.
That's fine.
I can't cut the video.
So we've spoken a little bit about that stabilization in the trunk while we're moving. Most of it's been focused front and back. So some other things that you could look at would be things like the side plank. Anything that's isolating the core. We've got core all the way going around here. Anything that can isolate that without movement. So your plank versus bicycles where we're on our back and we're rotating. So what I mean is, this is our plank. We're isolating. We're not moving our spine while we're holding this position. Versus our bicycles, we're moving our spine. So it's going to activate different muscles. All right. So we're looking at the ones where we're static. You can do plank, the 2 exercises that I've shown you already. And then other things that we can start to do is bringing in movement. All right. So some awesome ones would be, so to go into a 4-point position, right? And we just want to lift up off the ground a little bit, holding that neutral position. And once we're stable there, we can start doing a bit of a crab walk. All right. If you don't want to move, we can do positional changes, so activating our slings, got a sling going across your body, activating slings, and you can do that with a ball against the wall as well. So all that is as you lift one leg, you then want to stabilize and move your legs up and down. Right? You can do that in a plank position as well. Hold it, trying not to let your core to move or change while you're in that position. You can also bring external factors. So as I'm here, I can lift up onto a ball and then move across. Right? Or using a balance board to do that as well. So we can start to bring movement in, isolating our spine to stay still while the rest of our body is moving. Alright, so give those things a shot. As I've said, it's about endurance. It's slow movement, so don't rush through it. Sets of, as I said, sets of 10 reps for 7-second reps. That's what we're looking for. With the spine, it's a little bit more different. If we're doing that flat back lats exercise, we want to be going through slow reps, but going for 10 would be quite challenging. See how many you can do. Let us know. Tag us in the comments. Walking, crab walking. Try and see how long you guys can hold it before you start to arch your back or curve your back or start tilting at the pelvis. Again, this is where the bear crawl and stuff also comes in. So if you guys have any questions about that, or even the shoulder one, if you're still confused about something there, send me a message, let me know what you think.